Hey, this is Notzer, and this is the Tier 3 U.S. Battleship, South Carolina. She's got 8 guns, 4 AA guns, 20 secondary guns, and goes at a whopping 18 knots. And I'm sick. So this was one of the first games I played. You can see the teams are mostly battleships. And that works to your advantage if you're a destroyer or a carrier, because you're supposed to go after those targets. But as a battleship and as a cruiser with the new armor changes, you can't really exploit any weakness. It's a lot of brawling. And because the South Carolina is so slow, it's a lot of brawling late in the game when a lot of your teammates have been killed. Basically anyone other than the slow battleships. So, what is the deal with U.S. battleships? Well, I've gone up a tree with a combination of games and free XP, and it seems like most of them are slow, have short range, have a better turning radius than Japanese battleships, and they're a little bit smaller profile in the water. So that's a lot like what the Warships was headed towards. Their turret rotation is not quite as bad as the Warspite, but everything else feels very familiar. You know, you can turn and avoid torpedoes easier than a Japanese battleship. You have a smaller ship overall, so it's a harder target for both guns and torpedoes. And yeah, I don't know what was this. It's just a huge spike in lag. So it looks like the friendlies are headed towards A. Looks like half of them are headed towards the enemy is headed towards C. And of course, they're all battleships, and they're still not in range for me. This is a fully upgraded South Carolina. Just use free XP. But yeah, it's definitely different. They've definitely made both battleship lines feel very different, and I appreciate that. If you play World of Tanks, a lot of the lines start feeling familiar, and you really want a unique experience with each nation and class of ship.
Our team has taken the lead.
So, we've captured CMB. It looks like there's a large battle around A. There's the enemy in at A and friendly sitting out. Just looking at the ship. You know, really, neither one of us are in range of each other. And man, does it feel slow. It feels... That's probably the biggest issue with early tier US battleships. Because they are so slow. You don't get a fast US battleship until something like tier 7. All the battleships move under like 24 knots until tier 7. That's a lot of grinding. And you can't dictate the pace of the battle at all going that slow. You can't get into a position that's advantageous for you. You've got to just deal with the enemy always pushing. And right now, there's just so many US battleships and Japanese carriers that it's kind of made the gameplay a little bit stagnant. Just because of that, because all the battleships are so slow. So, when people are, you know, done with trying the battleships and the carriers and back to a normal gameplay where you have a better balance of carriers, battleships, destroyers, and cruisers, then it could be a harder environment to play in. You guys notice that the audio is like completely different. They've changed all the gun sounds. They've changed a lot of the sound systems. To me, it sounds like a better quality sound. Because earlier, in my other videos, sometimes there would be like a storm off in the distance, and that was recorded at a really low quality to me. But I don't, after playing for a while, I don't notice any glaring, obvious audio that's really low quality. So it all sounds a lot better. And the punchiness of the guns is really appreciative, because that's a more realistic scenario for gunfire than the long, drawn-out shots that was in the game previously. So yeah, audio is awesome. They've also added more information in the end screen. I could show that, but it basically lists off fire and flooding as a primary stat. So yeah, and they've got a better font. They've also added achievements. And the achievements are what unlock signal
The enemy team
flags.
is taking the lead.
There's a first blood, there's a 100 to 0, and there's a couple others that you'll see. And unfortunately, they spam in the chat box, so it fills up your screen and kind of interrupts your chat if you're trying to tell someone.
Enemy heavily damaged.
So yeah, we're broadside with this enemy battleship. We landed a good shot. And the AP, HE changes are noticeable. You really have an advantage if you're a higher tier ship firing at a lower tier. Otherwise, it feels like you really can't pin a lot of times. And yeah, we do pretty good damage. Looks like he's gonna die to torpedoes. Oh, he avoids it. He saw it in time. You notice those torpedo squads only have 4 aircraft. That's the Japanese carrier flare. We got a smaller squad. They have 1 extra squad. And they made that change all along the US carrier line too. So you'll notice if you've played prior.
We destroyed an enemy battleship.
We hit that guy's magazine. But,
Our victory
he gets
is
a
in
reward
sight.
for it. He gets an achievement that basically makes him immune to ammo rack explosions in the next game he uses that flag in, so that was pretty awesome.
Main turret critically damaged.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna win this game. It was the first game. The games are really battleship heavy, so torpedoes are very effective. So just consider that. If you don't have an interest in these battleships, or you want to deal with them better, it's better to use torpedoes against them, especially with the armor changes. They really don't take a lot of damage. So I'm excited as a player of destroyers to see the new armor changes. And there we go, we win. And here's the new battle screen. So yeah, you got a list for achievements. Those little anchors are the achievements that give them signal flags. And then in this detailed report, they've added how much fire damage you've done and how much flooding damage you've done. So yeah, probably to get players to understand what they're doing right and wrong. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you next time.